Thank you much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Sudha. Raj Prabhu?
To bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler, more natural way of life.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
With a view towards achieving the aforementioned purpose is to aforementioned purposes to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings.
Thank you. Thank you, volunteers. So you see how comprehensive was the program that Srila Prabhupada instituted so that we can actually change the world. Srila Prabhupada was not thinking 1 year, 10 years, 100 years. He was thinking 10,000 years. Remember, Srila Prabhupada said, my books will be the law books for the next 10,000 years. This is how serious this program is. It's not a small thing. And each one of us can meditate on all the different things that Srila Prabhupada has presented, and we can find our mission within the larger mission of ISKCON. Because each one of us is different and we have different talents and skills. So some of us may be very, very good at, say, book distribution. And some of us may just not want to even step out of the house or interact with people or have any of those kind of activities. We may be very good at writing articles, or we may be very good at painting, or we may be very good at cooking. And so there's a place for everybody in ISKCON. This is the beauty of this wonderful ISKCON movement, where there is unity in diversity. So Srila Prabhupada's very first purpose is very significant: to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large. Why did Srila Prabhupada put this first? Because without education, there is no awareness. Without awareness, there's no knowledge. Without knowledge, there is no education. And without education, there's no training. And without training, all the actions are wrong because they are not guided by true knowledge. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada emphasized that the first thing people need is proper spiritual education to understand the most basic things, and then to expand on that knowledge so that people come to the right conception of life. If you don't even know who you really are, everything starts with the wrong premise. If you say 2 + 2 is 5, and then you go on for 1 hour calculating, the answer is still wrong because you started off wrong. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada wanted so much for this knowledge to be spread, because the ignorance is overwhelming. People are on the bodily concept of life. Because they are on the bodily concept of life, they're simply involved in 2 things: sense gratification, economic development. And the real purpose of human life, which is awakening pure love of God, which is available only in the human form of life, is completely lost. No one even knows about this. So therefore, Prabhupada wanted that to educate people in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values. You see how topsy-turvy our society has become. Everything is upside down. What is wrong, sinful, immoral, unethical, illegal is considered normal. And people who are actually following religious principles are considered weird, crazy, psycho, dysfunctional, not with it, old-fashioned, fanatical, etc., etc., etc. Because the whole world is topsy-turvy, we're having so much chaos and turbulence. And Srila Prabhupada said, I have come to teach you all these things so that you can have a head. Srila Prabhupada said, right now society is headless, without a head. I am making a class of Brahmanas, a class of highly intelligent people who will be able to educate the whole society at all levels to teach right from wrong, values, culture, traditions, upholding the program of worshiping the Supreme Lord in every sphere of activity. This is what Srila Prabhupada's vision is, and that is why he instituted a system of training so that a class of people called Brahmanas would be very well versed in all the limbs, all the angas, yajan, patan, patan, dana, pratigraha. What does that mean? They would be well versed in scriptures, as well as they would be well versed in teaching scriptures. They would be able to perform deity worship. They would be able to teach deity worship. They would be expert in the art of receiving alms and charity and immediately distributing to people in need and in necessity. So Srila Prabhupada wanted that we have a very systematic program of training people at all levels in order to institute what is called Varnashram, Daivi Varnashram, not just Varnashram. Daivi Varnashram is essential because society needs to be organized. 4 Varnas, 4 Ashramas. Kshatriyas after Brahmanas, then Vaishyas, that is the trader class, and then Shudras or the laborer class. Srila Prabhupada said that if we have an organized society, then there is some meaning. Without organization, it's completely foolish what we are trying to do. What is number 2? To propagate a consciousness of Krishna as revealed in the great scriptures Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. 3, to bring the members of the society together with each other and nearer to Krishna, the prime entity, developing the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Godhead Krishna. See how Srila Prabhupada wants communities. He wants Krishna conscious devotee communities. Right now, most of ISKCON doesn't live in a community system. We are many of us on our own or in the congregational setting. We come once in a while to the temple. We don't have so much relationship with other devotees. Therefore, we are dealing mostly with the outside world. We are not dealing with each other. We are not getting the strength of associating with devotees because we are so much caught up in the material energy. And then it's a battle to try to become Krishna conscious because the material energy is so overwhelming. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada wanted that we all come together and form communities so that we can support, encourage, enthuse, enliven, energize, and synergize with each other and go on with our program of a Krishna conscious society where simple living, high thinking, and the real aim and purpose of human life is fulfilled. Not that we work ourselves to death every day just to get some scraps of food and to put clothes on our back and to have a roof above our head, which is what is our present situation now, which is really quite sad considering that, even animals do it better than us now, the way the things are going. To teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting of the holy names as revealed in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. To erect for the members and for society at large a holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Krishna, to bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler, more natural way of life. This is what I would like to expand on a little bit more. Of course, I'll read the last one. And therefore, with a view to achieving this, what did Srila Prabhupada want? Publish, publish, print, print, distribute, distribute books. He wanted that in a big way, people gain access to this knowledge in the form of books, periodicals, magazines, other writings, and so on. So let's talk about farm communities. When Srila Prabhupada this was in the 70s, Srila Prabhupada really made a big push to develop farm communities because he knew this is the future. And he even said at some point that 50% of my work is not finished. I have not instituted Varnashram. And then one day he was very, very ill, very, very ill. And early morning, it was like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, the bell rang and the servant came running and said, Giriraj Maharaj, Giriraj Maharaj, Giriraj Maharaj, come quickly. Srila Prabhupada is calling you. So Giriraj Maharaj went running up to Srila Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, what is it? And Prabhupada said to him, after I leave, how will this movement go on? And Giriraj Maharaj was like taken by surprise, at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, Prabhupada is meditating so deeply on the future of ISKCON after he leaves. Then so Giriraj Maharaj said, well, Swami Srila Prabhupada, if we keep chanting the holy names and we, chant Hare Krishna, and Srila Prabhupada just said, organization and intelligence. So we have to organize ourselves and we have to use our intelligence. That is what Srila Prabhupada wants, because the future is going to depend on how we navigate the present. And how we navigate the present depends on, just one moment, please. Thank you for your patience. Yeah, so how we navigate the present. Let me now, at this point, turn to what Srila Prabhupada spoke on farm communities. I want to read specific quotes because this is very important for us to understand which way our society is headed, which is the future, and what is our role in that. Let me see if I can screen share. Will you allow me to screen share, my dear Srimati, Sri Vrinda?
Yes, Mataji, I did.
Okay. So let's
Vrinda Mataji, please unshare your screen. Yeah, Sridevi Mataji, you can share.
Is everyone able to see?
Yes, Mataji.
Fantastic. This is what Srila Prabhupada spoke on farm communities. And I'm going to read each one of them because it's very significant. We need farm communities that can grow food. Why? Srila Prabhupada predicted one day millions of people would be coming to our Hare Krishna farms because they are unemployed. And we must accept them. We must feed them. We must let them live there, and they will gradually become spiritualized. We will put them to work. They will get their food, and there will be prasadam. They will hear something about Krishna, and they will gradually, by the millions, become devotees. Unless in human society, the Varnashram system is introduced, no scheme for social order, health order, or any order, political order will be successful. 3, it may be an ideal village where residents will have plain living and high thinking. For plain living, we must have sufficient land for raising crops and pasturing grounds for the cows. If there's sufficient grains and production of milk, then the whole economic problem is solved. Simple living and high thinking is the solution to economic problems. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement is engaging devotees in producing their own food and living self-sufficiently, so that rascals may see how one can live very peacefully, eat the food grains one has grown oneself, drink milk, and chant Hare Krishna. 4, from an economic point of view, if one man has a cow and 4 acres of land, he has no economic problems. That we want to start. He can independently live in any part of the world. Simply, he must have 1 cow and 4 acres of land. So let the people be divided in 4 acres of land and a cow, and there will be no economic question. All the factories will be closed. And this is a conversation with a very important social figure of that time, Allen Ginsberg. 5, we have to think plain living, high thinking. The necessities of this bodily existence should be minimized, not unhealthy, but healthy to keep oneself fit. But the time should be utilized to develop Krishna consciousness, spiritual life. Then this whole problem is solved. 6, civilization will collapse very soon all over the world. Our farm projects are an extremely important part of our movement. We must become self-sufficient by growing our own grains and producing our own milk. Then there will be no question of poverty. So develop these farm communities as far as possible. If these farms become successful, then the whole world will be enveloped by Krishna consciousness. Krishna is the farm acharya, Baladev is holding a plow, and Krishna is holding the calf. The Krishna consciousness movement will go down in history as having saved mankind in its darkest hour. 7, the point is to be engaged in doing something for Krishna. Never mind what is that job, but being so engaged in doing something so satisfying to the devotee that he remains always enthusiastic. Our leaders shall be careful not to kill the spirit of enthusiastic service, which is individual, spontaneous, and voluntary. They should always try to generate some atmosphere of a fresh challenge to the devotees so that they will enthusiastically agree to rise and meet it. This is the art of management, to draw out the spontaneous loving spirit of sacrificing some energy for Krishna. First of all, cows should be protected. Cows who are thus protected will in turn protect the Brahmanas. Thus, when protection of cows and Brahmanas is achieved, the whole world is protected. Clever means he must stay in his own land. He should not be cheated by the paper and go to the city. The killing of cows by human society is one of the grossest suicidal policies, and those who are anxious to cultivate the human spirit must turn their attention first towards the question of cow protection. So just by reading these quotes, we can see how serious is the program of farm communities, how seriously we need, each one of us, wherever we are, to consider that very soon civilization is going to collapse. And then what am I going to do? We had a small glimpse of it in 2005, August 29th, when Hurricane Katrina hit south of, it's a place called New Orleans, Mississippi, 2 states close by to each other. And for 24 hours, there was such tremendous hurricane that the devastation was enormous, enormous. Floods all over the city, drowning so many people, homes just washed away, whole cities just washed away, everything in shambles, trees down, electricity gone, no water supply, roads all blocked because of all fallen debris and so many things, no communication, no telephones, no electricity, no supplies. You can imagine what it was like. And I went through that because I was right there. At that time, I got a small glimpse of what Krishna is trying to show us by saying that this is not going to last. And then what are you going to do? Because if we don't grow our own food, we have no way to eat. And for me, it was a big eye-opener into Srila Prabhupada's predictions. Of course, we are protected by Krishna. Krishna loves his devotees and he protects his devotees. But that doesn't mean we should just sit and wait for things to go worse and worse and worse, because we can see what is happening around us. So let me go a little bit, because I'm also a mental health professional. I like to think about these things. So I want to present to you what is blocking us from taking action. And I'm going to share a Word document that I have made up. Let me see if I can. Do you see that on the share? Or
No, Mataji.
not
You
yet?
have
Huh?
to stop this sharing, and while sharing, select.
Okay, sorry. I'm trying to, okay, let me just, okay, share. Okay,
Yes, Mataji.
okay, great. So when we hear all these things, what happens to our minds? I'm just talking about, in general, all of us as devotees. Many of us have had Western education. Many of us just grew up in cities. We have no idea of what it is like to grow food, to live off the land, to have cows, to have farming land, to see how things are being grown, how mother cow and father bull are being used to plow the land as well as give milk. We have not seen these things, at least in our lifetime. My parents did. They grew up in a village and they would talk about it. But I didn't grow up like that. And I had a Western education. I grew up in a city. I didn't know a thing about where food came from. Mommy went to the store, bought it, and that was it. Milk, Dudwala Bhaiya would come to the house and deliver the milk, and that was it. So we had no idea. And with our Western education, where it's all about rationalization and economic development and more money-making strategies, we have just lost touch with God consciousness. Western thinking is linear thinking. There is no cause and effect and no introspection, no seeing. It's just one solution, one problem, You make a bigger problem by trying to find another solution, which only compounds the first problem. And so therefore, there's no end. That is why the ravaging of Mother Earth is going on non-stop, because they cannot think and see how their actions are actually spoiling everything. They cannot. While Vedic study, Vedic training is Avaroha Pantha. That means we listen to the voice of the higher authorities. We listen to the sages and to the saints and what they are speaking about Krishna, about God, about lifestyle, about everything. We listen to, that means we follow authority. We follow the Vedic scriptures. That is not there at present because this is Kali Yuga. Who is trained in spiritual knowledge? Who knows anything about Vedic scripture? So in a large measure, our way of thinking has got warped and has got polluted by Western education. This is a major factor actually, because who reads scriptures? Who knows what is the purpose of life? Till Srila Prabhupada came, none of us knew anything about it. The second is fear of the unknown. We are so used to our city life. We are so used to the conveniences. We are so used to getting everything on a platter. We are so used to pushing buttons, pushing our credit cards, driving to the store, opening a tab. We never know what it is like to throw a bucket down the well and get water out of the well. We don't know what it is like to milk a cow and get milk. We just open a carton, pour out the milk. We just buy things from a store and that's it. We have no idea of the origin of things or how to do things also. And so when people say, no, this can't be true. People are just making too much drama. Why everyone is so pessimistic? We can go on like this. Fear of the unknown makes us deny reality. And therefore there's big time denial. Even though we can see what is happening around us, because we are so afraid, we are so frightened of what steps we will need to take or what lifestyle changes we will need to make, we decide we will close our eyes and live in denial. It's called stork with his head in the sand attitude. So because we are in denial, what happens next? Inattention. We selectively block out things that we don't want to hear and we don't want to see. So even though we are seeing around us so many things, climate change, hurricanes, forest fires, earthquakes, pestilence, wars, this, that, all these things, there's a tendency to block out negative information because we don't want to hear it. We don't want to see it. We want to be in denial, and therefore we become inattentive to cues because we don't want to see the reality. This is something like the people on the Titanic. Titanic was sinking. It was very obvious it was sinking, but people on the upper decks, they didn't want to believe it. So they told the band to keep playing. And so the band kept playing. And the ship is sinking. Instead of taking action, they decided to close their eyes to reality and pretend nothing is going wrong. This is a fact. If you read the story of the Titanic, the ship that was sinking. So therefore, when we have this kind of a sequence, fear of the unknown, leading to denial, leading to inattention, inaction, inertia. We don't feel the need to take any action. We don't feel the need to do anything. We feel apathetic. We feel demotivated. We don't feel any energy to, go forward with anything. And so we stick to what we know. We stick to the familiar. We stick to our comfort zone and we do nothing. My dear spirit souls, if we keep doing nothing, the Titanic is sinking. So I want us to jog ourselves a little bit to reality. What happens? Let's look at what happens. It would be nice for us to have everyone's camera on, if possible. But it's okay, I can complete it and then we can put our cameras on. What happens when we are motivated? Let's see what happens when we are motivated to do something. Can you see the second part of the Word document? Or maybe I have to pull it up a little bit. Okay. When we are curious about what is happening or when we feel the need for action, what is the first thing we do? We start information gathering. We start finding out what is really going on And I'm not able to see anyone. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Mataji,
Oh, I have to go to Zoom?
yeah, you are, I think, seeing in your document. That's why maybe.
Okay. Can everyone see
You
the
are on
document?
full screen. Actually, you are on full screen. That's why maybe if you press escape, you can see.
Okay. So, well, I can do both. I can see you also, and I can do this also. So can everyone see the document?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes.
Very good.
Mataji.
So what happens is information gathering is step one. We start looking around and seeing what is happening. We start hearing what is happening. We start computing things, and we call what is that information gathering. That is phase one, which is actually what we are doing now in one sense. We are trying to understand the situation. We are trying to hear what our gurus are saying. We are trying to understand what the scriptures are saying. We are trying to understand Prabhupada's predictions. And we're looking at reality around us and we're saying, oh my gosh, what is all this going on? I mean, in my time, children didn't have to worry about school shootings. They didn't have to worry about whether my classmate is having a gun in his bag. But today's kids have to worry about these things. So can we deny that Kali Yuga is progressing? I don't think so. After the stage of information gathering comes the second stage, formulating a plan of action. Then we start getting motivated. Okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? Where are we going to do it? Who is going to do it? How is it going to happen? Are we going to form a team? Are we going to brainstorm? Are we going to come up with a tentative action plan? Are we going to do a pilot project? What's the meaning of a pilot project? It's like a experimental project, you know, how we try doing something for the first time. And then we start taking steps. Then we start moving forward. And then we go ahead to formulate our plan of action to make something happen. So I wanted to just throw that in for us all to start thinking. Okay, I'm going to do stop share and I'm going to discuss this a little bit more. So is everyone with me when I'm describing this process of how we are thinking? Is everyone there with me? Okay. Was that clear, that part which I okay. So my question to us all devotees is, my dear devotees, let us all put our heads together and start thinking. That is step one. Only after we all come together and start formulating a plan of action and then making things happen will our lives move in a different direction. Otherwise, we are going to be just carried away by this wave without our even knowing it. And that's not what our Gurudev wants. That's not what Prabhupada wants. He wants us to take charge and do something. He wants us to take action because he's giving us all this knowledge and he's teaching us the way forward. So I hope that was enlivening for everyone. It was enlivening for me to present it. And I'm going to throw it open for discussion.
Thank you, Sridevi Mataji. This was a beautiful class. Thank you so much. I request devotees, if there are any questions, comments, realizations, please go ahead. I'm sure there will be some questions or realizations on this topic. I mean, I have one question, Mataji. Which Srimati Mataji shared on that website, there was a quote by Srila Prabhupada that clever is to be in your own land. So what we have done is we have left our land and we have come here. It is also related to one point which you mentioned in the word file, that fear of unknown, that we run to cities and we then feel like whether we will sustain with the lives in our small towns, or that fear we get, right? But I'm always with this. I mean, I really like to be in my own land, but now the situation is such that we are settled here. And so, like, is that something wrong we have done? I mean, in this, is it applicable even now that we should be in our land? Because this is what is going on nowadays. Everyone is just going out. No one is in their own land practically these days, right? So what are your thoughts in that, Mataji? I mean,
Yes, definitely. When simple living, high thinking calls for a lot of God consciousness, but that is not happening, and that's why people are being exploited, abused, traumatized, and therefore they're leaving their villages, coming to the cities in hopes of better life, and then the same thing happens there because there also there's no God consciousness. So like they're having a better life. Sometimes it's a worse life, but people are doing that. And as for us, we came for so many reasons. Lord Chaitanya said, and when these people from Bharatvarsha flee to foreign lands, I will go chasing after them to give them the holy name. I'll send my Senapati Bhakta, which is what Prabhupada has done, captured all of us and saved us. So brain drain happens when there is poor leadership. In fact, Srila Prabhupada blamed the present day leaders for the present day world crisis. When there is lack of God conscious leadership, common people have no shelter, and then they do whatever they can to survive. So, we all came, for whatever reason, but wherever we are, we can apply the principles of Krishna consciousness. We can come together to make things happen. It's not that everybody has to run back to India. Bhakti Charu Maharaj came all the way to Delisle, Florida, to start a farm community, and then COVID happened, and then he left his body, but he had already started a farm community. He didn't say to all his disciples, no, everybody come back to India and then we will do something in Ujjain. Wherever they were, he said, okay, let's start a farm community right here. So it's not that we have to go back to India. Of course, some of us may choose to go back to India or may have to go back to India. That's a different story. But wherever we are, devotees can come together and start at least forming a group, forming some kind of support system in place must be there, just for us to keep moving forward in our own bhakti at least. At least we must have support of other devotees nearby, living near us. Otherwise, even chanting becomes so difficult. How can we even chant our rounds? It's so difficult. I know, because I went through that phase where I was all alone without devotee association, and it was so hard just to chant my rounds. And then finally, begging and pleading, I started a little Mangalarti program going, and that's how I survived online. It was so difficult. It's very difficult without devotee association. So I'm not saying that tomorrow everybody must leave their homes and find a patch of land in the forest and grab a cow and start milking her. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is we must start taking steps to come together. At least that is step one. Because we are not going to make it through this alone. It's not possible. We have to we are in this together. And when we unite, then something can happen. So for some, it may be like 5-6 families come together and try to buy houses close to each other and have a little temple program going in somebody's house. Somebody does Mangalarti, somebody does Dashanarti, somebody does Gaurarti, depending on people's convenience, and people read, and do whatever happens in the temple. You try to have a modified program in the home, and 4 or 5 families, 7, 8 families can come together and do that. But there must be some kind of attempt to have a group of devotees, to practice Krishna consciousness with. If we are lone rangers, it's very difficult, very, very difficult. We need association.
thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Raj Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Ji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. All glories to him. Om.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Raj Prabhu. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our Gurudev.
It seems to me that everybody needs to relearn, because it's not nobody in the West knows how to look after a cow. It's a scary thought, and nobody knows. Obviously, there are some people that know, but generally speaking, nobody knows how anything about farming and agriculture and growing things from the land. So even if people were to go to be successful, they need to learn. So we have education in all the ISKCON centers around the world teaching like philosophy, but we need them to be teaching, or schools alongside them to be teaching about cow care and farming, because only when people learn, especially the younger members of the community, and they start learning about this and they enjoy it, and then they have that passion for it. Because I don't know about many others, certainly in the UK, there's a massive proportion of people that are older, like in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and they're not the right age group, I don't think, to be able to like taking this off. It's more like the younger ones, so which they're less off, and they've got the wrong education. So we're somehow, because like I've always lived in the city. I don't know any other life, so I don't know nothing about those things. So you'd need learning, and then you would need some help, some guide, some people that are like you call upon for advice and help and guidance. You need experts that make themselves available and facilitate. Because even if people learn about farming and living off the land, they still need someone to facilitate. It's a big thing to go off and make your own community, even if you're going off with 10 other families. And even though they might have different skills and they can help each other, there's a lot of things that they don't know or they need help on, because nobody knows everything. And so we really need more champions to facilitate this happening for others. So it may be that the people that are older can help with the championing, and then they can get people that already have the knowledge and the skills to help them. So it's like building up a community of people that can facilitate all of this for a younger generation to take it on board.
Yes, we definitely need thriving farm communities first to show the way. Otherwise, how can we even see how to do it? If we don't have a working model in place, it's all pie in the sky. We need to see something that is working for us to have faith in it. Govardhan Eco Village in Mumbai is a very, very good example of a self-sustaining farm community that is developing magnificently and has won international awards. Hungary Eco Valley that Shivram Maharaj has started has been around for several years and also won many international awards. And so these projects are there for us to see how they have done it, and then either join up or form our own, depending on how much initiative and how much interest and how much courage we have. It all depends on those things. It's not so easy, as you said, because we are city slickers, we know nothing of farm communities. But it also doesn't mean that everybody who goes to live on a farm is a farmer. You need teachers, you need plumbers, you need carpenters, you need brick makers, you need cooks, you need everything. You need all aspects of a farm community. You need so many different professions. You need for ladies, you'll need a beautician, because everybody likes to go to the beauty parlor. So you need someone for your ladies' beauty needs, and so on and so forth. You'll need a massage therapist, you'll need a physiotherapist, you'll need a herbal medicine person. I mean, there are so many aspects of a community that is going to need a variety of professions, a variety of skills, a variety of types of people, and so on. So your point is well taken that we can't just, jump on the bandwagon and go off into the forest like that. We need to have a plan, and we need to understand first what we are getting into. We need to understand who is going to do it, and then follow a project that's success breeds success. So if we see something that is successful, it's very inspiring. And then we replicate success by replicating what they did, how they did it. The thing is, the writing is on the wall. I don't know that we can go on like this for very long, because what are we going to do one day when the water, you turn on the tap, there's no water. You go to the gas station, they say there's no gas. You go to the store, half the shelves are empty. And this happens even now when there is some climate crisis. Suddenly everybody goes on a panic buying spree and all the stores are empty. And then you turn on your computer and there's no electricity or whatever. What are we going to do then? Are we going to wait for that time? I don't think it's wise to wait for that time, because then you're forced to do anything to survive. We don't want to reach that point where we're just forced to live in, all these rehab camps that they will put for us people out there and say, come on, live under the hippodrome and we're going to dole out chicken soup and things like that. It's going to come to that. We don't want to be like that. Hundreds and thousands of people, I remember, were stranded, or, when Hurricane Katrina happened, it was a massive, massive crisis of unbelievable proportions. And so many people had to live under a big, huge football stadium, and all kinds of riots broke out. And it was a horrendous time for so many people. So many died just in the struggle to survive. So I don't want to, sound like the doomsday prophet, but what I'm trying to say is, if we start thinking about taking action now, then there is some chance that we might be able to survive. Remember, there is that rule which says adapt. The ones who adapt will be able to survive, but those who cannot adapt will not be able to survive. So how will we adapt to this new lifestyle? Is by taking the words of Prabhupada seriously and trying to come up with a plan, trying to come up with some way to plug in to an existing farm community, or find out how to do it and maybe come together and do it ourselves. But for that, we need at least few experts who are already there, who are willing to come and teach the new community all these things.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All rest to Srila Prabhupada. I hope Raj Prabhu.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Gurudev.
Sorry, did I interrupt the discussion in the middle? Raj Prabhu, you want to continue with anything? Sorry.
No, I was just thinking that you can carry on, Mataji.
Okay, thank you. So thank you so much,
So Raj
Mataji.
Prabhu, I know many of us are going to not have, just 1 second, Srimati.
Yeah, yeah.
Many are going to be left with, this is not a class where everything ends neatly. This is a class where everyone is going to be uncomfortable because there are no pat answers. There are no
Hare
pat
Krishna.
answers. It's not neatly packaged and finished. Everything, Bhagavatam class is done and we all go back to our comfort zone. This is not that kind of class.
Yeah,
So
so
we are
it's
all
like
going to be left with some degree of discomfort, I'm afraid.
there's so many people and forces pulling you in different directions. So it makes it even more difficult to take on like a new sphere of thought and that, because when you think about in the material world, you're pulled in all directions. And even in the spiritual life, you're pulled in different directions because you've got a whole camp saying, you need to be out doing Sankirtan, book distribution. You need to be doing this service, that service. You need to be learning the philosophy. Oh, you need to be getting association and building up your right character. And you need to be raising spiritual Krishna conscious children. You're pulled in a million directions, both in material life and spiritual life. So when a new thing like this comes on, even though you know it's right because Guru Maharaj has told us 100 times and we know he's right, it's difficult, isn't it?
This is wonderful. Wonderful to see your reactions because this is exactly what I wanted. You see, when we start plowing the ground, there is a lot of turbulence on the soil, but it's room for planting new seeds. If the ground is all flat and slick and packed in, you can't do very much. But when you cause unrest by plowing it up, new seeds can be planted. So this is beautiful. Okay.
Janava Mataji was trying to
Hare Krishna, dear Mataji Sridevi, for your lecture and precious advices, and all devotees here today. I would like to tell something on empathy and this important characteristic of Vaishnava. Yeah, I'm thinking many times about this aphorism, this well-known simple living and higher thinking. It's also aphorism by Immanuel Kant, a philosopher. I remember I read, in a book by Srila Prabhupada, philosopher quotations. And at the beginning, I was thinking it was a little bit ironical, but after, why not? Maybe it's also an aphorism from the Vedic culture. I think it's more appropriate. And for this kind of realization, I was thinking how important is the empathic nature. And I was reading, some lines of Vaishnava book, considering one survey about different psychological schools, and how did they apply their theories and different methodologies and techniques. And at the end, the result that they were studied it was that the main characteristic was the empathic role, because all the schools were enough good helping, but it's up to the counselor and his empathic nature. So yeah, I'm thinking about this nature for Vaishnava, and yes, and somehow I'm more in this book distribution. I like this kind of mood, but sometimes it's something comes out also from the psychological point of view. So I was thinking about this characteristic also for for preaching or for everyone, a relationship with the other devotees. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Geneva. It's very nice that you're feeling inclined towards book distribution, and also you're studying the nature of empathy, the importance and role of empathy, and the role of the extent of the counselor is empathic towards helping his or her clients. So Definitely relationships are going to mean a big deal when we come together to form communities. So empathy is very important. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So I just want to share, but first of all, thank you so much for this topic, Mataji. And yeah, we to start with something like this, we need a lot of courage and a lot of changes in our day-to-day lifestyle. Then only we can adapt to this particular concept of farm community and being together in such a place, not living in the cities. But yeah, nowadays in our temple, also our president, His Grace Nityananda Prabhu, is also, along with some devotees, making some plans to have a farm community here in nearby Dallas. So in that process, devotees are planning to, actually they planned or they bought some land here, and they are trying to do that, start a farm community here. So plans are there, but how soon we are going to involve in that, and it depends, Mataji. So a lot of options are there when you want to decide. Like as you said, we have to start planning now, because lot of things like our kids are in school still, so they have to go to college. Once they become independent, then only we can take an decision like that. So a lot of things are there, but at least we should plan for the future, nearby future, at least. And yeah, and I just want to tell the devotees that here one more community is coming up, and if anybody are interested coming to Dallas and here live in the farm community, so that would be very nice to have God family here. So
Haribo, thank you. Thank you for the very nice offer, Srimati, and thank you for informing us about the different options that are coming up over there. Yes, it's up to the leaders. The leaders have to see the writing on the wall. The leaders have to take the initiative. The leaders have to lead their flock. That is part of being a leader. You take care of those who are dependent on you. So, we want our leaders to take the initiative. We want that our city temples start in terms of having land and, having farm communities where grihasthas can raise their children nicely, and we can show people this is the real meaning of life, how to live, not live like an animal, just surviving day to day just for some scraps of food and food on the table. And it's such a hard life. Look at us today. It's pathetic. Traffic jams, traffic snarls, 2 hours commute, 8 hours at work, then another 1.5 hours commute, or whatever it is, like 12, 13 hours of your day just gone to eke a living. I mean, what kind of life is that? And then you're so tired and finished. Where's the energy for relationships? It's like unbelievable, what we are going through. Already we are going through so much just to survive.
Yeah.
Just to survive. Why not take Prabhupada's word seriously, make that switch and have a good life? What we are so scared of is actually a better life. Actually a better life.
Yeah, because years together we are used to this kind of life, and suddenly
we are living such a hard life and we think this is good. Just imagine, we're living such a hard life and we're thinking this is, just imagine if we had to actually live that lifestyle where we are at peace, where we breathe good fresh air, where we have nice food to eat, where we have loving relationships with our God family, where our children are running and playing happily without being worried about being abducted by some child predator.
Yeah.
I mean, and school shooting. I mean, your child went through that school shooting just recently. Yes. Heard of such a thing when we were kids.
Yeah.
We have taken away the innocence of children. They are exposed to so much today. Where is their childhood left anymore? Play dates. Mommy has to drive the kid to a play date, arrange with another mom to have a play date. And then the two kids, poor things, play together for a little time, and then they bundle back into their cars and brought back. There's no running. Children are couch potatoes. Look at the mental health problem. I mean, the destruction at so many levels is tremendous. We call this life. it's playing havoc on people's relationships. It's playing havoc for people's mental health. It is just taking us down, down, down. So I believe that it's imperative for us to jump onto the bandwagon and try to do something that will better our life and show the way for our kids so that they can have a better life. Because imagine their condition. If we are going through this, what's going to happen to them?
That's true. Yeah, even though we are seeing a lot of things around us, as you said, we all close our eyes and we don't want to see the reality and take decisions. We just go with the flow and what others are doing.
We are
And
in denial.
I really feel that when I'm in this community where I don't have any devotees around, so but I feel like isolated, and I'm like a separate person. Because you, as you said, family should gather to discuss about Krishna, but here families gather to have parties and potlucks and a late night
And
party.
show off their latest saris and their latest gadgets and their latest.
Yeah. So there is nothing to talk about, and they just gossip about others and all these things going on. And
complete waste
so
of
we
time,
don't
which
have
we
any
don't.
particular association until we are nearby temple or like that.
Exactly. We are all starved for devotee association. Each one
Yes.
of us struggling here, there, here. Imagine if we all came together, how much we would be able to give each other of ourselves and actually help each other to become well situated and happy in our Krishna consciousness. We could have better health, better life, better relationships, better lifestyle. And then we would be paving the way for at least our children to have a better life. If we make little effort, we take one step towards Krishna, Krishna takes many steps towards us.
That's true.
So I know today's class is not a feel-good class.
No, Mataji,
Today's
it's
class is upset everyone class.
You have to start thinking in a direction. That's the thing. Yesterday only it started, but today it continued with your class.
I know this is very disconcerting for some of us. I know this is very, alarming maybe at some level for many of us. But the point is, if we don't discuss it,
yeah,
we won't be able to do anything either.
Yeah, but nowadays I hear a lot of devotees talking about this, Mataji. So we have hope, like a lot of devotees are thinking in this direction, and they are planning something in their own area. So definitely in USA, we have a lot of projects coming up, Mataji. That I can show for sure.
Good to hear that. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, Namrata Mataji has raised her hand. Mataji, please go ahead.
Krishna Mataji, humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. So,
please accept mine. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to our Gurudev.
So I was just catching a lot of attention on what you said. What we are scared of is a better life. So I was just thinking over the statement that you made. What we are scared of is the better life. We can make a better life, but only because we are not used to that better life, we don't want to take an initiative for that. So somehow many of us, we think that being grown up in the cities, we are not used to that atmosphere of farm communities. So how to start, where to start? There are many such questions like that when we talk about farm communities. So I was just thinking over that even right now, if we are having our own houses or apartments, we can start a simple living right from there. I mean, we can just start practicing our farm communities life right from there. Like many people at present, even in their apartment or even in their houses, they do balcony farming, they do terrace farming. So many of such projects I have seen. So which is, a small baby steps we can get habituated to, uh, for a bigger project like farm communities, like living.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We must start investing in this idea that little by little we're going to grow our own food. We're going to grow our own herbs. We're going to grow our own flowers. We're going to grow our own veggies like that, grains like that. So it starts with little baby steps. You're absolutely correct. We can have a balcony, a little, kitchen garden. We can have people keep bees. People keep bees for honey. And that's actually helping the environment also. So we can take baby steps towards this by investing in the idea that I must also contribute greening of Mother Earth. I must also contribute in some small way to grow something, even if it's just coriander seeds you put over there in a pot and get a little coriander leaves just for garnishing sabji. That's a start.
Yeah.
It's just a start. It's not rocket science to just grow some coriander or some ginger or something, but we need it every day. And it's very healthy to have it grown, your own, because you're not putting pesticides and chemicals. And it starts giving you a feel for what it is like to actually grow things, what is involved in that. That's a great first step. Thank you for pointing that out, that even in the city, we can do all these things.
Yes, Mataji. Even we can start with the minimal living also. When we need one, we should not buy 10 things. When we just need one, then another thing what you said about be making that bee boxing, something like that at home. I think we are planning to do that in a couple of days. My husband was going for some workshops for bee harvesting and that. So that was what I was thinking. Then of course, some people they also have a rainwater harvesting in their own house. All small projects, when we do it at our own house, even in cities, we will get more used to with the bigger projects of family.
Right. Right, exactly. Small baby steps are going to lead us further and further. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. One step. One step leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, like that. The thing is, the most difficult step is that first step. They say if you have to move from 0 to 10, the most difficult move is from 0 to 1. Because once you have momentum, you start picking up, from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, it's easier. But the 0 to 1 is the most difficult step. Anything. I want to lose weight. I want to start exercising. I want to handle my money better. I want to learn a new skill. Whatever it is, the first step is the most difficult. Once you get that, then you start moving little bit, and it picks up speed after some time. So my attempt is to get everybody up a little bit, to jog everybody's brains now. Step 1.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our Gurudev.
Yeah, please accept my humble obeisances too. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaja. Thank you so much, Mataji, for this very nice class. I was thinking I like the demo which you said, it's really helpful. The fear of unknown, denial, inattention, inaction. That's what we are going through now. Even though we know, it's not safe, but still, we have closed our eyes and we are, blocking all the negative tendencies and we are getting used to live like that. And the transition, I feel it's very tough, even after, realizing life will be definitely beautiful if we make baby steps. But, taking that baby steps itself,
That is why having faith in the words of the spiritual master, having faith in the words of Srila Prabhupada, having faith in the scriptures, having faith in the Shastra, having faith in Krishna is very important for us to keep going, because without that faith, it will be very difficult for us to have conviction. And without conviction, any little obstacle or difficulty and all our resolve will just melt and we will slump. But
Yeah.
when we have conviction, we will power through even when there are obstacles. A bigger picture, because we are aiming for a higher purpose.
Yes, Mataji, definitely, yeah. But I don't know, my personal experience, like after coming to Krishna conscious, definitely simple living versus natural living. We are not living natural living, but at least we have, not going for like, we are trying to live a simple life. I mean, I can see how much we downgraded our lifestyle, and myself, all that, the association and everything. That change definitely I've seen in myself after coming to this association.
And how did you feel after making that change?
Definitely very happy, but still I feel like I'm still hanging around with few things that I really need to understand where the blockage is so that I can take one more step forward. Uh, but yeah, I can see the transformation. Like I'm happy with what I have now. Um, Lavanya Mataji was mentioning, like in the community also, it's very hard to find like devotees.
Like-minded.
This
This is very rare. We are
very
so blessed right now in this Zoom conference. We are so blessed by having 13 devotees. I mean,
yeah.
just imagine that. This is a very precious time that we are having devotee association.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah, yeah. But still, I need to identify the blockages and I need to really know where I can take a step so I don't hang around. I feel like, yeah, so much has transformed, but still I'm having some blockages I need to understand and so I can take further steps. Yeah.
Right, right. Very, very nicely put, because introspection is very necessary for us to say, okay, what is it that I'm hanging on to that I don't need anymore? Or what is it that needs to go so that something new can come? So introspection, looking at ourselves, seeing where we are headed. Because remember, if we don't know where we are headed, then we are just wandering, not knowing where we are headed. We
Yeah.
need to have a goal. We need to have a vision. We need to have a purpose. We need to understand that this
Yeah.
is a very valuable form of life, the human form of life that I've been given. In this life, I can make it back home, back to Godhead. Wow. What now do I need to do to make that happen?
Mm. Yes, Mataji. Yeah, definitely. I think by devotees' mercy and Guruma's mercy, I can understand my blockages. Yeah, but I can see the transformation is happening. But that transformation, the real transition from the farm community, that's like a bigger step. Maybe slowly we'll get there. So,
Right. Little by little, step by step. And like I said, I talked about the first part because that's very common. That's very common, the way the mind works, the way the brain works, denial, inattention, inaction. That's very common for all of us. All of us are like that. For anything, just take anything you want to do. We tend to block out the unpleasant and we tend to say, no, 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 no. And then when it becomes very pressing,
mm,
let's say I have a bad habit of spending too much money, more than what I earn. But I like to go on with that as long as the creditors don't come calling, right? And then when the credit card bills come and they slap a huge interest because I haven't even paid my credit card on time, then I wake up. You see?
yes,
But when someone tells, hey, you better learn how to manage your money better because you're in the red all the time, until that point comes where it pinches us, we don't like to take action. That's just human nature. That's just you. But as devotees, we have been given so much now. We can't afford to be like all the common people who don't do anything until something pinches them real hard. We have been given so many warnings, we have been given so much knowledge. Why should we wait till we get kicked like that before we take steps? That's what I'm trying to say.
yes, Mataji. Very true. Yeah, very
Not
true.
that we have to jump up now and run to some farm community tomorrow. I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying, let's start thinking. That's step one.
Yes, Mataji, very true. At least if we take a step, the future generations, younger generations will get benefited. So at least they
Exactly. Because if
adapt.
we don't do that, not only our survival is at stake, what future our kids are going to have.
Very true. Mm.
What
Yes.
future our grandkids, if they even have kids. I've heard so many young people, I was doing a lot of book distribution, they're seriously considering whether even they want to have kids. Young people are saying, I don't know that I want to bring a child into this world. Look at the world around us. It seems like it's a crime to bring a child into the world today.
Yes,
And
true.
a whole generation of young people the chance of parenthood by making this world such a filthy place where they cannot breathe, they cannot eat, they cannot live, that they dare not bring children into the world. Many young people told me this. I used to interact with a lot of people, when I was distributing books, and they frankly told me the world is in such chaos because everyone knows about the environmental crisis, and they're very worried. How will they bring children into this? So many of them are saying, I don't think I'm ready to bring a child into this world, how it is. Can you imagine?
Yes, Mataji, it's very devastating. Yeah.
It's very drastic, very
Yes.
drastic.
Mm.
So we have to do this for our kids and for the future generations at least.
Yes, very true. Is the generations, younger generations will get benefited and they can carry on that to the next generation. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much for your very nice enlightening class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you for listening very patiently and staying with the discomfort.
No, Mataji, lightning, not discomfort. Thank you.
I want us also to focus on the second part. Let me share that again because I don't want you to leave with only the inattention, denial, fear of unknown part. I'm going to share the screen and talk about the second half, which is, I think, also very, very important because when we decide to get into action mode, what happens? Information gathering, formulating a plan of action, taking baby steps, and then going ahead. So remember this part too.
Yes, I took those points also. What happens when motivated? Yeah, I've taken
Right.
those. Oh,
Okay,
thank you.
good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Is there anyone else who would like to share anything or ask any questions? Or if not, then with Mataji's permission, with everyone's permission, we can end today's call. Thank you so much, Mataji. It was really nice to hear everyone's questions and realizations and all your questions or answers also. Thank you. So we will end our call here today. I would like to pay my obeisances to Mataji and to all of you. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuveva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गुरु महाराज की जय, हर हर श्रीदेवी माता जी की जय. Thank you so much, Mataji. Once again.
Maharaj ki jai. La Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Mataji, once again. Thank you all the devotees for joining. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Brajavilasini.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Shri Krishna Chaitanya.
See you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.